Daniel Jones, better start talking. Dr. Doug here with the KRVFM, the heart and soul of San Antonio. And it's that time of the week, or a month, should I say, and where we have our Mayor Ron speaks to the community segment of our Saturday conversation. And here he is with us right now. How are you, Ron?
Doing great, Doug. Thanks for having me. I'm sitting here in quarantine right now.
I know. That's the first. How is life in quarantine?
It's okay. I mean, we're able to do a lot of things virtually now. So I've been working just as we have, just but virtually. But thinking about all the folks, I'm lucky. I don't have it. Hopefully, no symptoms arise here in the next week that I have to stay here. But thinking about the people that have been affected by this, and it's just terrible. And why it's so important that we continue to band together to see an end to this disease once and for all.
Well, I know people miss you on the daily briefings, but they've done a real good job. They've been real informational, as always. I was reading here about how even though our running average is like 300 cases a day, that other cities, many other cities in the country, by that matter, have somewhere like three times the rate that we do, infection rate that we have. Is that true?
It is. We've done a really good job here as a community of adhering to the public health guidance. We saw a massive spike in a very deadly June and July this summer, and we have been using the time to really ensure that we're getting the message out consistently about mask wearing and physical distancing, and that we've got the proper protocols established, even when the governor's orders limit our ability to enforce. But people have been coming together, and that's resulted in a lower infection rate per capita, although we're not out of the woods. So the caution is the next few weeks, especially as we've seen these cases grow exponentially elsewhere, even in our state, that we've got to all continue to hold the line and limit the spread of this disease as much as we can. And that power is in every individual person's hands.
Right. So, I mean, it seems like, San Antonio is one of those kind of cities where we do, regardless of our differences, we do seem to care about one another from that standpoint.
That's absolutely true. And that is one thing that, this has been a deadly pandemic, but the work that every person in our community has been doing to mask up, keep distance, limit their activities has helped to save countless lives. And there are many loved ones that get to go home every night from their work and hospitals, et cetera, that have that work of our neighbors to thank for it.
So now you're quarantined. So are you like in a separate section of your house by yourself?
I'm here at home. And Eric is with me. We're both quarantined together.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, but no, I have to stay away from contact with anybody who's not part of my household, and that's per the protocols, because I was a contact of someone who turned out to be positive with COVID. And so for the next 14 days, the incubation period of COVID-19, I've got to monitor to ensure that I haven't become infected myself, and hopefully that within that period of time, nothing arises, and then I can go back to the normal work, but obviously still COVID affected, masking up and distancing, et cetera.
That's awesome. So what kind of advice do you have for people with Thanksgiving coming up?
This is going to be one that it's so very important this year for people to recognize that this is not the year to have mixed family gatherings. This is not the year to bring grandmother and grandfather over for dinner. It's not the year to have neighbors over for Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, we've got to do that from a distance because what we're seeing is the rise of this infection is happening a lot within people's homes, where we let our guard down and we spend time with people we love that we spend a lot of time with, but who aren't actually members of our household, who may be introducing the virus to your home when they don't even realize they might be carrying it. So for the next, this holiday season is going to be different, and it's going to be difficult, but we've got to endure it together. And hopefully by the springtime, we'll have some vaccines being distributed that we can get back to normal again for the next holiday season. But this one's going to be really critical that we hold the line and adhere to public health guidance.
And that includes Christmas and all of that stuff, the MLK parade and all of those types of things. Is that correct?
That is, unfortunately, this is we're seeing right now, particularly in the winter months, on the coastal cities, and now even in Texas, in cities like Dallas and El Paso, and even in Houston and Austin, that the cases are starting to rise, and in some cases, very, very quickly, it's starting to overwhelm the hospital system. For instance, in El Paso. And in order for us to avoid the same fate, we've got to do everything we can to limit the spread. So when you're out, make sure you're wearing a mask, and make sure you're keeping physical distance in whatever setting that you have. Limiting your physical contact with members of your own household is critically important through this period where we're seeing the case rates go through the roof in some cases.
And that even includes if they're going out to bars. Is that correct?
It does. And so by the governor's order, there are many different businesses that are allowed to operate, and they are all operating with some reduced capacity. But the small businesses and places that we've been working with here in San Antonio, especially the small business community, have been doing a great job ensuring they're living up to those regulations and keeping tables separate, ensuring they're not servicing anyone that doesn't have a mask, because again, that's a law right now.
Right.
They've been doing a great job of doing that. But we need the cooperation of patrons to those establishments to do their part as well, so they can stay open safely. But yeah, no matter where you are, it doesn't matter where you are. It's really not about the place. It's about the behavior that you exhibit in that place. And that's why it's important, again, 6 feet of distance, keeping your mask worn over your nose and mouth, and ensuring you're staying home when you're having symptoms or feeling sick.
As well, thanks to your leadership, because there have been other leaders who have been come in contact with people who have been infected, who continue on their daily business, and so I'm really, really proud of the way that you've reacted. And you could have kept that a secret. You didn't have to be as transparent. You could have kept on going out to the events and everything, because it's important that you're out there. So I really, really applaud you and your actions in self-quarantining.
Thank you, Doug. And that's really the crux of the issue, is that many people who have this virus may not get very, very ill. We don't know the long-term effects of the virus, but many people who contract it might not get very ill and may not die from it. But the problem is, many people don't even know they have it when they're the most infectious, and it's being transmitted asymptomatically. So you may be fine, but you may end up giving the virus to someone who could get deathly ill from it or pass away from it, and that's what we want to avoid. And that's why it's important to adhere to all the public health advisories.
Awesome. So, all right, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that, and so does everyone else. So now, up to a couple other things here. It looks like we're going to have a changing of the guard in Washington, D.C. What are your thoughts on that?
It's such a wonderful outcome in so many ways in this Tuesday election. But to see the end of an administration that has stoked fear and hatred in our communities across the country is one of the most important outcomes. I think the Biden-Harris administration is going to bring a renewed sense of compassion and a focus on inclusion and equity in our communities. I think they will see the strength and diversity, and I'm looking forward to working with the administration and helping to correct some of the backward progress that we've seen in our country over the last 4 years of the Trump administration. To make the kind of racist and divisive rhetoric not acceptable again, I think is one of the most important things that we need to establish in the next days and weeks of the incoming Biden and Harris administration. And I'm glad that the day has come that we can see the changing of the guard.
Over 150, let's see, what was it? 150 million people voted. this year. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, and Biden-Harris ticket is now up by almost 6 million votes. I
Right,
think they're
right.
on track to get 80 million votes, all records. So clearly, there was a motivated public to get out there and let their voices be heard. Here in San Antonio, the Biden-Harris ticket won by, I believe, 18%.
18%,
Or
right?
a record. So clearly, people want progress. They want respect for people of all cultures and backgrounds and races to be restored in our country. That is something that San Antonio has exemplified in our history, and that's something I look forward to continue to building upon as we move forward past this pandemic.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now, so a couple of things have gone on here. You've heard about the attorney general or district attorney for Bexar County is coming up with a civil justice department. Is that correct? Something like that?
Yeah, I believe an Office of Civil Rights Investigations, which I fully supportive of, and ensuring that we from all aspects of the criminal justice system are looking at ways to root out systemic racism.
Awesome. And then two, I've heard that I actually interviewed him, Sheriff Salazar. Do you see the innovative training that the Bexar County Sheriff Department is going through?
I do, and that's something that we've got to work together on. The sheriff's office, the Bexar County, as well as SAPD, and ensuring that our law enforcement officers are trained to handle the situations that they encounter, particularly the challenges with regard to mental health. We're seeing a rise in mental health calls and cases, and the difficulty of which, can't be understated, because we are in a place where, in this pandemic, a lot of home situations have been stressed, which exacerbates existing mental health challenges. It also creates more stress on our already bad family violence situation, and so training is something that we've got to continue to refresh and ensure that the people that we put out there who are there to serve and are armed for a reason have the right training to do their jobs.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that and the results of that. And I really, it seems like in every corner of the city things are going really really well, and and more people are their voices are being heard about some of their dissatisfactions. And instead of just turning a deaf ear on them, you guys seem to really take it to heart and try to get to the bottom of it. And tell me, how is that happen? It seems like no matter what council person or county person or you yourself, all of you seem to be on the same page, and that is really rare nowadays. Tell me how that works.
Well, teamwork is incredibly important when there's so many different sectors and levels of government that are involved in the solution. And when this pandemic began, we threw out all of the old priorities and rearranged the resources to address the needs of people in our community first before anything else. And that has been, I believe, the source of how we've been able to tackle this pandemic so well, especially in comparison with our peer cities. I'll say, Doug, that when I came into office as mayor, my agenda was to restore equity in communities, and in some cases, introduce equity for the first time. And while that might mean planning resources so that communities, neighborhoods, streets that have been falling behind, that haven't gotten their fair share for generations, finally get their fair share, it also means that everyone in our community has a seat at the table for policy making, for voicing concerns, that everyone is welcome. This is a city for all, and that's why we've been able to address some of these challenges and begin to tackle issues that have been festering for generations, for decades, that no one has wanted to pay attention to. We've been able to tackle them. You've seen the vote on Tuesday also was an affirmation of our support for access to education and economic mobility. We're tackling generational poverty in a way that this community has never done before, and we've done it with the will of the voters. So equity is at the heart of what we will do from the mayor's office to ensure that everyone in our community has a fair shot and that has an opportunity to do well in this community.
You know, right before the election, on the Saturday before the election, on my show, we have a new association, a Minority Media of San Antonio, and includes right now the Jewish Journal, La Prensa, the San Antonio Observer, and KORV, and so we had a discussion on the propositions that were on the ballot. So it was really, really, really fruitful. But we had quite a few listeners. So now this Proposition B, tell us what that really means for us. Because I know it's about jobs and all of those things, but can you give us a little more details on it?
Yeah, sure, Doug, and I think this is so important. We have over 150,000 people in our community that have filed for unemployment as a result of this pandemic, and we know that even before this pandemic, people were struggling with underemployment and low wages. Meanwhile, at the same time, we also have tens of thousands of jobs in high-wage, in-demand industries that are ready to hire San Antonians. If only we had, ready people who had the credentials to take those jobs. So what we want to do is provide a path to those jobs for folks in our community. So it's workforce training, skills training, apprenticeship programs, or degree programs, depending on what job you want. It's paid for. It provides wraparound services. It also provides financial aid, and at least for the next year, it's providing a stipend, a full-time paycheck while you're training. And by the time you're done with the training, you will have a job waiting for you in one of these industries. We're enrolling 10,000 people per year. And that current Phase 1 program, which is funded by CARES Act, is happening right now. You can call 210-224-HELP to enroll, or 311 for more information. And then after this year, when that CARES Act funding runs out, voters have approved Proposition B SA Ready to Work to help continue this program until the end of 2025. And we know that's important because we know this economic recovery is going to last a long time. The devastation is real and it's prolonged. And so we need to have a sustained effort to invest in the people of our community, which is exactly what SA Ready to Work was about. And I applaud our entire community for coming together, recognizing the importance of investing in our own people here in our city, and they supported it by 77% of the vote, which is an affirmation of the future of our city, and it also shows how much our community cares for one another.
The Honorable Mayor Ron Nirenberg, my good friend, doing such a wonderful job leading us through this pandemic and through this economic crisis as well. We are a lot better off than many other cities are, and we have people in charge that really care, and that makes all the difference in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate your time on the Saturday. I know you're really busy. Yeah, right. You're quarantining at home. You're probably out. You probably were lifting weights this morning, right?
I was watching actually a documentary about the last 4 or 5 years of the U.S. government and the reason why we should be optimistic now that we're heading into a new administration with a new president and vice president.
Wow. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's at any rate, Doug, it's always a joy to be with you.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. All right, you have a good day.
Look forward to visiting again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mayor Ron Nirenberg, Mayor of San Antonio, you just heard from him about the pandemic, about our economic recovery, about our future, about jobs, about fairness, and all of those things that are important to all of us who pay tax in the city of San Antonio. KORV FM, the heart and soul of San Antonio. A little bit of extension coming up right now, and we'll be hearing in just a few minutes from Keith Scott, who's out there at Auto Auction for You. At 9156 FM 78, going out there and get you one of those Chicago hot dogs. Like I said, it's a hot dog with a salad on top, some relish, mustard, and ketchup. Is to die for. So you get that, get a car, you got it made. Dr. Doug here with the KORV FM, the heart and soul of San Antonio.